Well, it turns out this man did speak about it years later as a Disclosure Project witnesses, but also brought with him the originals because the CIA actually got copies. We got the originals. And I have many cases like that. So when you read the book and you see the rich detail of it and also look at the film, just remember there's a huge story behind every one of these. Another amazing case, which is mentioned very briefly in the book, in the film, is the little ET body. It appears to be extraterrestrial body, the Atacama body that we did the genetic research on at Stanford University. The results of those genetic tests now are showing that it almost certainly is not a mutation of a human. In fact, the chief scientist, Dr. Nolan, said the chances that that is a genetic mutation of a human are infinitesimally small. I'm quoting. Now, I have held that body in my hands. It's a 6-year-old child that fits in the palm of my hand. Well, I have big hands, but even so, size 9 surgical gloves. Anyway, but extra, extra large. But it was interesting because when the film Sirius came out, this chief scientist at Stanford was reluctant to actually go that far because not all the genetic material was in. Now it's all been analyzed, and there's no question at all that this is not human. Now, we can't say it's extraterrestrial, but in all likelihood, it's either a part human, part Earth-based, and part extraterrestrial, or completely extraterrestrial. And it was found in the Atacama Desert, where there are a lot of UFOs been seen going in and out of the mountains there in that part of Chile. It's a really dry desert in Chile. It's the driest place on Earth, and that's where this specimen was found. So that's an amazing case because it's an actual physical body. Another amazing case is the landing of the ET craft at Rendlesham Forest, Bentwaters Air Force Base, that we have numerous official documents on, as well as the British Ministry of Defense, after we did the Disclosure Project, released the secret files that actually showed that there were changes in the soil radiation and composition from where this massive object sat down on the ground. And we have multiple corroborating military people who were on site who have provided us information on that. So, in a way, we have so much evidence that the bigger issue becomes, I always say this film and this book addresses really 3 big issues. What's the evidence? How is it being kept secret? And that's why unacknowledged special access projects are so key, because most people don't understand. How do you keep something secret? Well, first of all, it's kind of out there in plain sight, but the ongoing operations are all these unacknowledged special access projects that are being run illegally with billions of dollars of our taxpayer money, outrageously. And then the question is, what is the why? I mean, the hardest thing to answer is, why would it be kept secret? I know there are many skeptical people who say, well, this would be a great thing for the public to know. I say, yes, but you're not thinking it through. It'd be cool to know that we're not alone in the universe, but to know that they're actually here and that a covert program has figured out how they operate. One of the most important government documents is from Canada, where this Wilbur Smith document that's in the movie and also in the book. I have the entire document in my book, where it says that it's a top secret document that I understand accidentally got declassified in the Canadian archives. And it states point blank that in the early 1950s, they were looking into how these ET craft operated and were figuring out their propulsion and energy systems. Well, guess what? That was like 1951 or 50. 1954, we had accomplished that. So a year before I was born, we figured out anti-gravity. So I'm going to be 62. To give you an idea, that's 63 years ago in October. This coming October will be 63 years that we have not needed surface roads. We have not needed cars, jets, or rockets.
Mind-blowing.
Okay. It is mind-blowing. So think about it. It's almost like we're Neanderthals crawling around in the dustbin of oil and coal and soot and pollution and poverty. And it's all artificial. This secrecy is killing the planet and destroying millions of lives every day through pollution and poverty. It is unbelievable. And once people understand that, they realize, you know what, we need to do something about this. So that's what induced me to leave my medical career. When I realized that it wasn't just about, oh, well, there's ET out there, how interesting. I realized, holy shit, we have an entire civilization that is going the way of the dinosaur here.
Right.
We're just, we're in the middle of the biggest mass extinction in human history. And since the dinosaurs disappeared 65 million years ago, and it's 100% man-made. And we can fix that. We can reverse that, but we're running out of time. And so that's why I left my medical career. I realized that, in a sense, I could save people one person at a time in the emergency department who've been shot or stabbed or car wrecks or heart attacks, or we can do something to fix this huge problem for the planet for 7 billion people. So it was a big, hard decision for me and my family to make. And my wife's an angel for putting up with it. But there aren't many doctors' wives who will let you leave your medical career as chairman of emergency medicine and do this stuff. I mean, a few years ago, our tax return. Our tax return a few years ago was $35,000 for a family of 6. So that's the other thing. People have to understand the kind of sacrifice and work it takes to do something like this. There's all these rumors out there. Oh, Greer's getting rich. I said, yeah, right. I said I'd have $10 or $12 million if I'd kept working as the chairman of emergency medicine at this busy ER. But the problem becomes, what is the average person going to do? What I tell people is that people have got to stop viewing this subject as sort of infotainment and realize we have to launch into activism. What activism is, the first thing you can do is get the book and get the movie, and then the part of the proceeds that'll come to our disclosure effort can then build up an energy lab. Why don't we bring out these technologies ourselves? We don't have the funding.
Right.
So, and people think you're going to do something like this. Look, every week there's a new billion-dollar unicorn company being started in Silicon Valley for some stupid app, to measure your boobs or something. This is something that if we had just a little bit of funding, and by a little bit, I mean in the terms of research and development funding, we could have a laboratory stood up and probably in a year to 2 years have a free energy device out for the public that would get us off oil. Now, you would think that some very wealthy people would want to do that, but they don't want to be put in the crosshairs of funding it by themselves. But 1 million people listening to your show, each going to SeriousDisclosure.com and putting in $5 or $10 in donations, that would do it. And so the question becomes, why isn't that happening? And I think it's because people don't understand that what we're trying to do isn't just disclosing that the ETs are here. We're trying to build the foundation for bringing out the new civilization that can be built on that disclosure.
Right.
That it's a big distinction. And that's really what we're trying to do.
Right.
Because, more than half the public already believe that UFOs are real and the government's hiding something. But what I'm trying to do is to explain to the public how it's being kept secret and why. And when people understand the why, then they're going to go, wow, if we could organize ourselves and create a movement that was supported properly with enough research and development, we'd be able to bring these technologies out and just bypass Lockheed Martin and bypass the CIA and bypass the government. And that's something I've been asking for a number of years. I'm hoping that we can launch enough support globally around the film and the book that people then begins to connect the dots. And a lot of the social media things I've been reading and the IMDb reviews, people are saying, wow, this finally connects all these dots.
Right.
Of what is the evidence, how is it being kept secret, why is it being kept secret? And when people get to that part of the movie called the lost century, this lost century of evolution on Earth, they realize, wow, that makes sense. This is why a bunch of sociopathic oligarchs and global elites would want to keep this secret, because goodbye JP Morgan Chase petrodollar banking, goodbye oil. People who are holding trillions of dollars worth of commodities in oil and gas and coal, those all become worthless the instant the truth about this is truly understood.